Hey, IronPigs fans, welcome back to another episode of Welcome to the Pig Leagues. I'm radio broadcaster Pat McCarthy, and today we're joined by a familiar face, the all-time saves leader in IronPigs history, Pedro Beato. Pedro, how are you?
I'm doing well. Just staying in put with this whole pandemic, just hoping that everything goes through so we can get back on the field.
Well, I know now it's been a year since you've been with the IronPigs, but talk a little bit about your time at Coca-Cola Park. It was two pretty special seasons.
It was great. I had so much fun. It's probably two of my best minor league seasons. It was so much fun just playing with the fans. As in Coca-Cola Park, we drove probably the most fans in a year than anybody else, and it's awesome to play there. Especially coming off and playing for two teams that don't draw that many fans in that league, which is Norfolk and Gwinnett, which are good parks to pitch at, especially Gwinnett, which is a very nice field, very nice. So, but I think we had it all. We had it all at Coca-Cola Park. We had the fans. We had a beautiful stadium. We had the beautiful fans. We have the loudest fans, the most important fans, which is more important as a player than anything else.
When you were in two seasons in Lehigh Valley too, where winning was really at the forefront, you know, you have the stretch run down in 2017 and then eventually winning the division in 2018. How much did you guys thrive off of winning at that level? I mean, a lot of it is made up of development, but for some of you guys, like the veteran guys, that had to be a great thrill.
Well, you had to think about the first 2017. Our team started with a lot of prospects, a lot of really, really outstanding prospects. But you see the results right now in the big leagues. So that helped us tremendously at the beginning of the year, which we were unbeatable. We went through a couple months where I think we lost like maybe one or two times, and when we lost, it was like, oh, we just lost. It's okay. Finally, somebody beat us or something like that. We were just beating up on teams like it was no tomorrow, and it was awesome because this prospects were coming out hot. They came out hot at the gate. They didn't let down until, as usually happens, the team got dismantled with all these guys going up to the big leagues, and we had to find ways to win. We went through a little scuffle sometime towards the end of the season, and then we had to grind it out for the rest of it to find punch in to get into the playoffs. But it was fun, man. I loved it. I loved, as you saw, especially in 18, that I pitched a lot more than 17.
Yeah.
I loved being on the field. I loved being out there, being in a competitive environment, which we were at every day. And I love the fact about that. It got to the point, especially in 18, that Lundy came up to me. He goes, "Hey, you're done for the rest of the season." We had like maybe two series left or a series, something like that. I went through a stretch where I think I threw out of 5 or 6 games. I threw in like 4 or 5 or something. I had like 100 saves in AAA or something like that. And Lundy was like, "Hey, you're done. You just be ready for the playoffs." So I was like,
Well, then, of course, we went up to the House of Horrors, and we had to take on the Rail Riders in the first round of that of the 2018 divisional series. But it was a fun group as well. I mean, there was a lot of veteran guys that all seemed to gel really well in that locker room.
Yes, the leadership we had was awesome. We had guys that were like Bluth. Bluth came in there. He stepped right in. He wasn't trying to boss people around. He was just trying to be another guy in there to help out, which he did tremendously. And as you saw, he played multiple positions. He didn't just stick to third base, which is his main position. He helped out wherever it was needed. All of the guys that came in came in with open ears, open-minded, being able to help everywhere on the field. And that's what helps. Honestly, that's what helps teams succeed when you have the leadership that doesn't just strive on bossing people around and showing them who played in big leagues, but help to add into the team and not just be a boss.
Well, for as much as the position players were a veteran group, the bullpen was relatively young. I mean, you were really the head guy in terms of service time and time in professional baseball. How did you take on that leadership role amongst such a young group of guys? And it really got younger too as the season went on.
Yeah, it got to the point where I was 32, 31, and I was the oldest guy in the bullpen.
Yeah.
I was 30, and I was the second oldest or third oldest because we had Cesar Ramos and we had Vendetti that were older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second year, I was the oldest guy in the bullpen, and I was looking around, and I was like, I'm getting old, or something is going on in baseball where things are just starting to turn very young. But it was fun because it brought me to a different perspective of not only being a competitor, it brought me into a mentality of also being a mentor and being a teacher. There was a lot of the times when these young guys were coming up where Landy came up to me and was like, hey, this guy needs help. Just, to help him out as much as you can. So that's when I had to step in and be a mentor or a teacher to some of these guys.
Well, one guy that wasn't with us that long in 2018, but you guys were working tirelessly, was Hector Neris. When he came down for that brief stint in 2018, talk a little bit about the role that you played with him in getting him back to the big leagues and now the success that he's having in the back end of the Phillies bullpen.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because when he came down to Lehigh with us, he the first day he gets there, Neris. Neris, he's a very caring guy. He's a very upbeat guy. He doesn't let himself get down.
Mm-hmm.
He's always happy. He always has that positive mentality. So when he came in, he goes, Pedro, it was tough. It was tough. But I don't know who your throwing partner is. And at the time, I think it was Gilbert. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I don't care who your throwing partner is, but you gotta play catch with him. We gotta figure this thing out. I was like, you know what you have to do. Just go ahead and talk to the young guy and tell him what's gonna happen, and then we just go from there. Knowing Neris and seeing Neris in spring training, knowing when he's at his best, it's easier for me to make a judgment and being able to see things that maybe he doesn't feel, or not to say anything like negative or anything like that. But as the saying goes, 4 eyes see better than 2. Mm-hmm. So Landy, knowing him even better than I do, he might miss something.
Right.
So whatever he was working on, I was there with him, just trying to keep him in check to whatever he was looking to feel. If I didn't feel it, or if he didn't see it, or he didn't notice, then I would just step in and just let him know, hey, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you're doing. But honestly, it all came up to his work. He was out there every day, just putting that extra work to get things to be done. Somebody telling you what to do and you not replicating it or even trying it, it's not going to do anything unless you put in your own part. And he did a lot of that. He put in his own work. He did his extra work. He let other people get their inputs in, which if again you're not open-minded to other people's ideas and other people's thoughts, you're gonna stay in the same shell.
I tell people a very similar story that first day that he walked out of the clubhouse at Coca-Cola Park after being sent down, he had the biggest smile on his face and came over and gave me a big hug, because that's just who he is. That no matter what was going on, he was going to be smiling. He wasn't going to let it get the best of him. And he went out, he dominated. And now for the last year and a half, he's been one of the most dominant pitchers in Major League Baseball. How much contact do you keep with those guys that you played with in 2017 and 2018?
All the time. You go back to like Therian. I speak to Therian every now and then. Rios, I just got in contact with Rios 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. Dos Santos, I speak to him probably once a week, twice a week. Edgar Garcia, I speak to him all the time. I spoke to Luis Garcia the other day. I mean, all these guys, I stay in touch with them. I was actually going to go to spring training to go cut hair, and I guess I have.
Well, those that know that you are also you double as a barber. How did that all start? I mean, you went at one point, the barber chair was in the clubhouse. How did you start cutting everybody's hair? Where did it begin at the lower levels, or was it something that just developed over time?
It developed over time. I started back in 2007 when I really started playing, my first full season and being around in places where barbers are probably the worst you can find in anywhere in America. And my thought was, if they can do that and you're paying for that, I can do better. So I just started picking it up little by little, and then I don't know, I just got good at it. And it got to the point where I had guys just repeating, coming back. I mean, I screwed up a lot of heads. Trust me, I did. So I finally got it right. But yeah, it was just work. It was just keep doing it, keep practicing, having people brave enough to let me practice on their head, and just continue from there. And it's funny because I was using at the beginning. I was using a chair that was one of the promotional chairs right next to the home dugout. And I forget his name, but he was like, Pedro, you need to stop taking the chairs, because the chair was coming out to the field like 10 minutes before the game, because I was cutting the last guy's hair 10 minutes before the game, before I had to run out to the bullpen. And then we came to agreement, and then we bought a chair and put it in the bullpen and put it in the bathroom. That was just a stationary one right there.
One thing that goes on a lot in the Iron Pigs clubhouse is ping pong is one of the national pastimes. Who was the best ping pong player that you played against?
There was a few. There was a few guys that are really good, especially guys coming down from the big leagues. I don't know if they practice a lot up in the big leagues playing ping pong or what, but there was a lot of guys coming down that were really good. Jake Thompson was really good. There was at least 4 or 5 of them that I had no chance against. Crawford was good. I'm not the best ping pong player, but I'm not the worst either. But these guys were really good. Like, I couldn't beat them. I'll probably get like 5 points on them, and I was happy.
Let's talk about some of the other organizations that you played for. You grew up in Brooklyn. You get a chance to play in the big leagues with the New York Mets. Did you grow up a Mets fan, or did you grow up a Yankee fan in that area? And what was it like pitching in your hometown?
It's funny because I was more of I've always been more of a player's fan than a team fan. Mm-hmm. I was always rooting for Pedro Martinez, David Ortiz, like those Dominican guys, because that's where I was born.
Right.
And those guys were like people we really idol back in the Dominican, because they are who they are. They're Hall of Famers, and that's like the right people to idol for. Roger Clemens is the guy I idoled coming up too. Playing in the hometown, it was great. I didn't have to pay rent because I was going to live at home, which is the best part of it all. And being able to play back at home after not being able to play back at home in like 4 or 5 years, because right after high school I went to college down here in Florida,
right,
and then I went on to play pro ball, and I was playing all over the United States but New York City. So that was great, and especially debuting in New York City. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than that.
This season, you moved to the Atlantic League. You played for the Long Island Ducks, made a couple of starts as well for Wally Blackman's squad. I do have a question about the Atlantic League because so many changes were made. How did you feel that some of the changes were implemented? Did you enjoy them as a pitcher, or was it tough to make that transition?
It was tough. The only one I enjoyed was probably the automated strike zone. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot more adjustments they need to make on it. For instance, there was a lot of strikes that umpires normally won't call. Mm-hmm. There are strikes, but they just don't call it because you miss a spot completely.
Right.
We're accustomed to that. But there were spots where they're not strikes, but they're calling strikes. For pitchers, I love it because I need that strike. It might be a strike I need. And the machine is giving it to me, because from my understanding of the TrackMan is a prediction of the spot where it's going to land. It's not a reading over the plate where it's landing. So that's where I think the flaws are on the TrackMan of being able to replace the umpire. But I think it was good. The other ones I didn't really like. The no pickoff, I think. Guys like Roman Quinn will have a lot of fun with. You can have a mediocre guy speed, and what are you going to do with a guy? How are you going to stop the running game? Something we've reached since day one, since we signed Pro Bowl, even before that. You can't stop it. even a lefty can't even pick off. He's done. Like there's a lot. I didn't like that rule because of it. The third strike, the mulligan, the one you can steal first. I think that one. That's up for grab. I mean, that takes more of a lazy catcher than anything else, or a big backstop. That's what the false I think is going to be. I think catchers better be in a better shape because you're going to be running a lot. Because every ball that goes back in the backstop, you got to go full sprint because the guy's going to take first base. But I think other than that, the only rule that I was more for was probably the automated strike zone. There was also some flaws, which isn't adjustable, it's easy to fix. Some trackmans were taking more. I guess it wasn't calibrated right or something, where it was not giving you a corner and it was giving you another corner, or it was giving you more to one side of the plate than the other. But those would be pretty much easy fixes. But they also started adjusting where the strike zone was going to be, where there was like those breaking balls are up in the zone, but they're strike, but they're up in the zone. Normally it's called ball. A hitter is used to, or is trained to do. I'll say to just let up on that ball because it's gonna be up in the zone anyways. But the automated strike zone it's calling it. So it was on the automated strike zone was more pro pitcher than anything else, I thought.
One thing that people always talk about with the automated strike zone is the delay that it takes to get to the umpire. Was there any kind of delay like that, or was it kind of in the same beat that it would be if the umpire was normally calling it a ball or a strike?
No, there was a kind of like a 3 to 5 second delay. There were times where you can look up videos of it. It's actually pretty funny to see, because it's like on a video game when you get a glitch where a third strike is called, the catcher's throwing the ball back, and then the umpire just rings him up.
Right.
So there were some delays, but those are things that are fixable, easy fix. I don't think that's a big deal. I think it's more of making the trackman be more specific of where the ball is going to land. I think that's more where the flaws is.
So what have you been up to now? I mean, you were in the Atlantic League last season, pitched in the Mexican League a little bit. What's the plan for 2020? What have you been doing to keep busy?
In the 2020, I thought about keeping up. More of the reason why I kept playing until last year was because I wanted to go overseas to play to places like Japan, places like Korea and stuff like that. But it's really hard to get into those places, and I didn't get the chance to. So my family's growing. Thank goodness I have a third baby on the way. I got a girl coming on the way. Finally,
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. And I just decided to just not play anymore, just take care of my family. I got at least one of my boys right now. He loves baseball. He wants to play. You guys probably saw him on the field.
Yeah, of course.
And just take care of him. Make sure he's guided the right way. And they need a father figure to be around. And that's my kid, so I need to be the father. So I need to step in and do my part. My wife has done a tremendous job, believe it or not. And I mean, to what my kids have grown up so far, all kudos to her, because she's done a tremendous job. Me being away for so long, and for such a long period of time playing baseball, I think it's time for me to step in and replace that part that is missing. Thank you very much. The other thing I've been doing is about to start. I'm in the process of starting my own academy, pretty much. Awesome. Like a baseball facility. I'm a long shot away from it yet, because I wanna step into the business first before I actually make the next step to move on to where I get my own facility and start doing my own work. But I already started doing my own brand. Oh, by the way, this is the my.
I was going to say, I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen you posted about it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Part of the reason why I picked the name is because the new stuff going on in baseball, where our players are the most important players are categorized as high leverage players. So that's the reason why I got the name. So the brand name and the academy that I'm going to have or the facility I'm going to have is going to be called High Leverage Baseball, and the brand is High Leverage. But that's my reasoning for the name. So right now I'm big right now on custom gloves. I'm getting them out of Taiwan. I'm big on batting gloves. I'm doing shirts right now, shorts, socks, and hats. Those are my biggest ones right now. Obviously, you got to start somewhere. You got to start slow because, it's a long process. Plus, I'm not trying to be any of these big companies because it's impossible to be. I'm just, trying to do right, trying to do something more than just training. If eventually it goes for where I'm hoping for, I'll be able to supply all the teams with whatever is needed, which is one of the main reasons why I got into this branding kind of thing.
Well, that's awesome, Pedro. Well, you pitched in plenty of high leverage situations for the IronPigs, and I know you provided a lot of memories for a lot of people that came out to Coca-Cola Park. Thank you so much for joining us, and I really appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you guys for hearing us.
We'll be back with another episode of Welcome to the Pig Leagues in just a little bit. He's Pedro Beato. I'm Pat McCarthy saying so long and thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.